Well, I getting a little deja vu right now, and I wish I wasn't getting too much deja vu about this next topic, but we've had a rough year in the folk community. Obviously, you notice the stage is named after Tanya Rose, and we had a miserable week in April where we lost Tanya Rose, and we lost great blues man Steve White. And back on St. Patrick's Day, I don't know if Johnny Walker had this planned or not, but he died also. And illness seems to be the theme this year in the folk community. And I just wanted to say a few words and then have the Poway Folk Circle string band, bluegrass band, and whatever else they're calling themselves this week, play some songs to celebrate some wonderful folk musicians. I have a pretty close connection with Tanya, and I knew Johnny Walker through the Folk Song Society. Let's start with Johnny. Johnny single-handedly in the 60s became a right hand for Sam Hinton, who this festival was named after. And Johnny basically built the San Diego Folk Song Society and kept it working. And he played all over town, and he brought in an international flavor that wasn't here before. He's from Yorkshire, England, and he basically reconnected a lot of us traditional musicians with what really started out in the British Isles. I mean, American folk music is not in its origins American folk music. It's Scottish and Irish and British, and Johnny did his bit to bring that over. And Johnny was involved with the San Diego Folk Festivals, the Roots Festivals, and every other festival that had the word folk in it, and we greatly miss him. And then there's Tanya Rose. I mean, what can I say about Tanya? Tanya was, in the 60s, she was called the Queen of San Diego folk music. And she was out there, and she played all the clubs, and walked off a television station when they tried to turn it to, I guess the pop stuff started to seep in, and she wouldn't do that. And Tanya was her music, and that's what she loved. And she loved her music and evolved from there during the 60s where she did folk. She ended up playing country, traditional music. And we have a great CD left by her in the last year or two that was put together by Bob Pearson, who's fighting his own issues, and Paul Richards and Paula Strong finally got her into a studio. So if you're lucky enough, there's a CD out there actually of Tanya singing the great songs she loved, and she also was great with mixing corridos. She sang in Hebrew. She seemed to have this gift. I heard rumors she spoke 5 or 6 languages, and we're greatly hurt by her loss, and she saved the Folk Song Society in the last decade also. She did like Johnny Walker did. She did the newsletter, she did the membership, she did the banking, and when she couldn't do it anymore, she gave it over to me and made it a lot easier, because anything I do now with the newsletter is based on what Tanya put down, and we've declared her the newsletter editor emeritus forever and ever and ever, and this stage is Tanya's. And I want to say just a little bit about Steve White. Steve had cancer of the larynx and died after a year-plus struggle with it, and nothing worse than you can imagine than a musician losing his vocal cords. But he tried to play. He was an artist and a painter, but like anything else, you know, down the road, everybody meets something down the road, and that's where we are today. And we have a hole in our folk community, but we have a lot of younger people back here filling it in, and hopefully down the road some of these people will be remembered for doing great things too. So let's do some songs. And I got Larry Rose up here. Do you want to pick it all? Great, come on.
This is the first chance I've had to thank the Folk Heritage Organization and Tim Day and Dick J and all of those folks that put this together and bust their tails to put this thing together. And when Tanya found out about this stage being named for her, so typical. She said, gee, why didn't they save that for one of the folk heritage folks that's put this things together and does so much more than me? All I do is get up here and pick. Which typical Tanya. She mentioned that she walked out of a TV studio in San Diego in 1963 because they wanted her to do Kingston Trio stuff or something like that. And she said, I don't do Kingston Trio stuff, I hate that group. So anyway, to make the long story shorter, back in those days in 63, there was only 2 television stations in San Diego. It was all live TV. Well, Regis Philbin, who was getting his start over on Channel 10, heard about that because you couldn't keep something like that a secret. Tanya stomped off this stage, and the set crew and the cameramen all applauded her for putting this guy down without saying a word. And Regis Philbin heard about it and said, "You come on over to our station, you can do what you want." And Regis treated her like a queen. And that's where the reputation started, that she was like queen of folk music. As far as I know, she was the only person back in the 60s, in the middle of the great folk scare, that got on local TV and sort of got herself established. They asked around town, who's the best folk singer? And I said, Tanya, go get her, if you want to do a TV show that's done right. And this honor of putting her picture up here and doing this for her is something that I don't think she ever would have imagined. Her hero in life was Sam Hinton. That's how she got her start. When he came around to her elementary school, she was a little kid, and she says, that's the stuff for me, I love that stuff. And she sang that stuff and branched out into country and bluegrass later on in her life. I saw her on the Regis Philbin show and said, I gotta go see her. And so I started chasing after her at all the folk music places and coffee houses in town. And in 1968, she finally caught me. And we had 43 years of super music together. It was fun. Jeez. Before we get too carried away, I just want to say a lot of people prayed for Tanya. We got 14 months out of her with the worst kind of pancreatic cancer there is. She set the record at the oncology center. Nobody's ever lasted longer than 6 months up there. And because of all of you and the people that came by to see and pick and grin, our house was rocking for a year with this. And before we get too far carried away, I want everybody to get behind Ken Graydon, who's having his troubles too, and a lot of other people we know, like Bob Pearson with lymphoma. I mean, we're all getting kind of old, and these things sneak up on us. But because of the support from all of you folks for the musicians that get up here and pick and grin, some of them are doing really great, and they're going to make it, and they're going to pull through, and we'll pick till we fall over from ancient age at 100 or more. So thank you so much.
Tanya talked from time to time, and from her songs and conversations, she definitely was a spiritual person, you know, and had her own take on things. And we're going to do a spiritual song.
I happen to know she loved this song. The first time I ever played out was a couple of years ago at San Diego Folk Heritage, and I played this song, and she came up to me, Tanya did, and said that she loved it. And she said it to me a couple of other times when I played it, so I know she loved this song.
We'll let you contemplate that for a minute. So turn the mic on.
I don't want to get you away.
for Tanya. Okay, we're doing one. Here we go. This is for Tanya. This is a Carter family song, I believe. This is for Larry and Tanya.